What's happening, y'all? How you making out? Got a super talented drummer in Sam Shahin of New Orleans' funky, eclectic six-piece band Naughty Professor, who is presently out on tour with Tank and the Bangas and Big Freedia, the queen of the bounce, if you will. The latter of which Naughty Professor has been acting as the backup band for, which is really cool. Be sure to check out the links in the description for remaining tour dates as well. But we were able to talk about double dipping on the gig with Naughty Professor and, of course, Big Freedia. The challenges in each, plus minimal rehearsing and learning on the gig for the Big Freedia set. Sam and I have also studied with some of the same guys in New Orleans, namely Wayne Moreau, whose episode is number 44 of the Crash Bang Boom podcast, if you'd like to check that one out. But in addition to that, we talk about the many great drummers of New Orleans and the upcoming generation of them, of which I believe Sam is one of them, and a whole lot more. Please do subscribe on iTunes Podcast or SoundCloud, Stitcher, YouTube if you haven't already, and leave positive feedback. I'm obviously on Facebook and Instagram as well, maybe even on Twitter if you want to check that shit out. Shout out to my sponsor, New Orleans Record Press. If you're looking at putting out vinyl for your project, check out NewOrleansRecordPress.com. They're the first state-of-the-art record pressing facility in the city of New Orleans, and they'll press 12 or 7-inch records in either 150 or 180 grams. Plus, they have colored vinyl options, center label printing, blank and printed packaging styles, deluxe audio mastering, precision lacquer cutting, and electroplating. They also do projects of all sizes, from runs as low as 100 units up to commercial pressings in the thousands. So check them out, y'all, and tell them Crash Bang Boom sent you. And that's NewOrleansRecordPress.com. All right, here we go, y'all. Sam Shahin, Nutty Professor, Big Freedia. Backing up Big Freedia, bouncing asses and all. Crash Bang Boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
Get the drum.
Sam Shahin, what's happening, dude? How you making out?
Feeling great. Thanks a lot for having me, Jody.
Yeah, man. Caught up with you in between a sound check and getting on stage, and we're hanging out in the van, and it's colder than a well digger's ass outside. So
You're right about that, man. Coming from New Orleans, we've only been up in the north like 3 days, and I am not ready for it.
Yeah, man. I've been up here for 13 years, and I'm never ready for it.
I feel you on that.
Yeah,
Really, man. Yeah.
Start to figure out a way to dress for it, but you just don't get excited. You don't want to leave the house. Like sometimes if you got to wake up in the morning and you got to go to work and you know there's a commute, or like I ride my bike part of the way to get there, it's really hard to get motivated for that shit.
Oh, yeah, man. And the way you're on the bike with the air just coming right back at you.
I ride over a bridge, too, so it's water off the East River just blasting your face. It sucks.
Yeah, well, I got my thermal with me. I got my long sleeves. I got my hoodies. I got my hats,
ready.
Scarves, gloves, coats, all of it, man.
All
I'm
the
ready.
shit. You're
I'm
ready.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, good catching up with you, man. I was just thinking about how I ended up finding about your band and originally seeing you even playing via social media. One of my friends posted some footage of I believe, was it Marcus King sitting in with your band, Naughty Professor?
Yeah. We did a show last November that was a 2-night stand at the Maple Leaf and had Marcus King as a guest for one night and Charlie Tuna as a guest for another night.
Nice.
Did kind of a cool thing where he played some of our tunes, we played some of his tunes, kind of a nice little amalgamous thing, getting everything together. It was a blast, man. It was a lot of fun.
That's killer, man. He's a great guitarist.
He's amazing and such a sweetheart and one of those voices where like you feel like he's just seen so much more than he possibly could have in his years. You know what I mean? There's something about
channeling ghosts, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. And another just one of those cats where like you feel like his life story is in every note he plays. He's so passionate about everything he does. He just really puts his all into it.
Yeah.
And that's obviously somebody who we can really associate with. We love that attitude towards playing music, is just giving it your all and really putting everything you have into it at every moment,
Yeah, man. As I mentioned, catching you in between sound check and going on the stage, y'all are on tour right now with Tank and the Bangas and Big Freedia, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Nice. Man, have I been seeing footage? Has Naughty Professor been sitting in with Big Freedia?
We've been doing the set with her, yeah. We're a backing band for this whole tour. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh, it's been a blast, man. It's been a lot of fun. The Frieda stylistically with drumming is completely different than what I do with Naughty Professor.
Yeah.
So it's great to have kind of this really cool dichotomy and different challenges in each of the sets, and trying to remember, I'm playing to a track with Frieda, whereas I'm not playing to a track with Naughty. So if there's a mistake, I gotta figure out how to catch up with myself, or just remember if I miss a section, how to come back in the right spot, whatever it may be. Whereas with Naughty, a lot of times those guys just follow me. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, man, if I mess something up, oh, you're right there with me. Don't worry about it. Oh, the B section can happen here. Don't worry about it. Stuff like that. Where that's, there's physical challenges that are different as well. But there's the mental challenge is not to be dismissed,
For sure. Well, I think there's something to be said for, I think particular people are like, oh, you got all these parts in a song and this and that and the other. That's what's easy for me to remember. It's when things are more repetitive that it has a way of lulling you to sleep, and you can overstep shit. So I can imagine the sort of repetitive nature of the bounce style being like, I would get lost in that.
You got to put yourself into where the 8-bar phrase is, where's a pre-chorus, how are things functioning. When she's saying pounce on you, is that technically a 4-bar pre-chorus before she says in-o bounce? Or is that, you know what I mean? Like, how are these sections really functioning? And what can I do to make them feel like real sections? Sometimes maybe it's something where, like, I start playing that hand clap pattern on the snare drum, play the ga 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 ga.
Right.
Whereas other times I just do the heavy kick drum, just boom 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 boom, and play the snare on doom doom ga doom doom ga doom ga. Or what do you know? And how can I create little sections that make sure that they feel different and elevate in one place or break down in others, and kind of just try to get creative with the bounce style as much as I can while still staying true to what the song needs.
Sounds like you've whittled it down to what you need to do.
It's been a lot of fun, man. It's been a lot of fun. And a lot of times, high energy music that is to a metronome and is clicked out can be a lot of my practice routine, or a lot of the fun releasing part of my practice routine. The non, put a metronome on and run these exercises and things like that. But a lot of times just to release, I love putting on stuff, even Frieda stuff, and just play along to it. And whether it be playing in that style or just shredding over it for a while, or some combination of the two, I have a blast with it. So it's been a lot of fun just being here and doing it, learning on the gig. We had one rehearsal the day before we left.
Nice.
And just with the DJ Juan Jordan.
Wow.
And he was really helpful, cueing different stuff and helping us know exactly what our role was going to be, which, was something to define as well.
Right.
And it's been a lot of fun just kind of being thrown into the fire on all this, man, for sure.
That's wild, man. Well, how have the gigs been going thus far? Because it's such a bizarre scenario. I remember when bounce kind of first started popping around. And like most sort of bizarre subgenres and stuff, I was probably like, I wonder how long this will last. And here I am many, many years later, and I'm sitting here to you talking about this gig. It's hilarious, man. You never know.
Yeah, it's got to be 20 years, and it seems to still be growing in prominence and, really a strong part of the New Orleans community as opposed to an underground.
Yeah.
And it's been really cool. The response has been incredible across the board. I think a cool thing about this tour is that it really represents a lot of different styles that New Orleans music has come to represent, as we were just talking about bounce becoming into the mainstream. And then also, Tank combines a lot of the live elements and extended harmony elements and things like that Naughty Professor does, while also incorporating samples, drum machines, and stuff like that. And kind of the raw hip-hop side of things that Frieda also does. And it's a really cool match between these three bands to see all of these things coming together. I'm really, really proud to be out here and just honored that they've chosen us and to come out here and represent New Orleans, which is really what it feels like we're doing. People come out here because this is a New Orleans music scene thing. And where we've been out, whether it's the 930 Club in D.C. or TLA up in Philly, people are coming up to us everywhere going like, oh, so this is where New Orleans is at, man. Like, this is exciting. This is some cool stuff. Yeah. And I'm just kind of here like, man, we're just out here trying to do our thing. There's a ton of stuff in New Orleans. Like, we'd love to have you down there. Come check it out. But But I'm happy to be here, and just it's been a blast, man, really.
That's killer, man. Well, originally, you originally from Austin, Texas?
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
that's
right. Another one of my favorite cities in the States, man.
Absolutely.
Always have a great time going down there, and great music scene. I just love drinking and hanging and checking out music. It's a super cool town.
Yeah, it's great.
How old were you, I guess, before you moved from Austin?
Yeah, I moved from Austin when I was 13.
Oh,
so
super young.
I was pretty young. Yeah, I guess I spent 2 years of middle school. I moved to Washington D.C. and then went to an arts high school there called Duke Ellington School of the Arts. But I had already been playing in Austin. Actually, you say as you mentioned, there's a great music scene in Austin. There's also a whole like kid band scene, as we called it then.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. In elementary school and middle school, there were kids playing taco shops, coffee shops, all types of stuff that
that's wild.
were in rock bands, angsty punk bands, stuff like that.
Sure.
And I was in a band called 3 Hours Sleep
Okay.
at the time. Started, I think, when I was in 5th grade or maybe even 4th, something like that. And was definitely enjoying playing with friends and writing tunes. We had original music and stuff like that, even at that age. And as much as I could, being a part of that kid band scene in Austin before moving to D.C. and just falling deeply in love with jazz. There was even the middle school I was going to had the Fillmore Art Center, they called it, on the 3rd floor of the middle school, so that it wasn't, they didn't have any type of academics on the 3rd floor, just this art center. And I met a guy named Michael Bowie, who was a bass player and the leader of the jazz program there, who just kind of saw me and took me under his wing and was like, man, I think you might like this stuff. And he showed me Elvin Jones and Max Roach and, a million cats, whether it be Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers or those classic Miles Davis records. And I really fell in love with that stuff and started to come into him every single day after school. Just, what can I be listening to? What can, you want to play bass with me? How do I learn how to swing? Like all that type of stuff. And just got really into the vocabulary of jazz really, really quickly, and kind of took that to Duke Ellington School of the Arts for high school and continued to study it at Loyola University, New Orleans, And then it's not just Loyola where you get an education in New Orleans. Let me tell you that for sure, man.
Right.
And the education was great. Wayne Moreau is an amazing teacher. Johnny Vidacovich is an incredible mind to be teaching you, and that program was a fun place to be and all that. But New Orleans as a city has so much to teach you that it's hardly just about where you go to school when you're going to school for jazz in New Orleans. There's something extremely romantic about, just learning jazz in the place where it was created. It's incredible. It's beautiful. And there is a magic to the city that is undeniable and a pull to it that I had always felt. Even growing up in Austin, spending birthdays in New Orleans or jazz fests or Mardi Gras or whatever, there was always something that it's impossible not to feel the city of New Orleans. You just, you know.
I hear you, man. We were talking a little bit about it earlier, but I love the fact that you studied with both Johnny Vidacovich and Wayne Moreau. Wayne Moreau, of course, I studied with as well when I was down there. And two kind of completely different means of teaching, whereas Wayne is very literal
100%.
and is very pragmatic and technical in his ability to articulate the very specific things that you need to do, And Johnny's more of the more metaphysical guy.
Definitely.
That's way more out there.
Definitely.
He has a very untraditional approach to teaching in general. So that's
100%. Man.
That's a great balance between the two. It's wild.
No, it is, and it's really one hand feeds the other entirely. The more that you have the technical prowess and the understanding, the more you can forget it. You know, and that's kind of what Johnny is all about. I mean, he would put on Bach and have me swing to it. He would have me do things where I'm literally jumping up and down on my feet and beating rhythms into my chest, because his whole point was, if you're trying to learn four-way independence, then you need to actually physically put it into your body before you put it on the drum set.
Right.
And that was something I had never thought about. And any number of completely what seemed like far-fetched conceptual ideas to me, like putting the metronome at literally like 30 and trying to make you not subdivide and really trying to get into feeling where the time and all types of stuff that seemed, kind of crazy to me, but now just I do and feel so logical and feel so, natural to progress what it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And no, it did 100%. Wayne was one of those guys where you're just like, anything you want to learn, you come in and you're just, Wayne, I've been trying to figure out how can I do those types of fills where like it kind of makes it feels like you're not on beat, but then how do you do that? So I'm just like, well, have you tried just like playing straight 16th notes, but doing the accent patterns in say 7s or 5s or something? You're like,
right.
Oh,
right.
That's a really cool idea. Okay, yeah, let me try that. Or have you tried the idea of, really like putting a specific idea and giving you an exercise and a way to get to a goal specifically. And, you know, it's just a really cool balance of having those guys, as you said, absolutely, as teachers. It was a blast, man.
Well, New Orleans is such a crazy town with drummers and whatnot, man. Growing up, seeing everybody from like, oh God, seeing Willie Green, but playing in like the Klezmer All-Stars many years ago.
Yeah.
Like I saw them one night, and apparently later on, and I've been wanting to catch up with Willie to talk about it, but I saw, I believe, the accordion player, and I said, man, I saw y'all on Mardi Gras night at Cafe Brazil, and I think this was like 1992 or some shit like that. And he was like, dude, we were all on acid that night. Like, wow, man. God.
Wow.
I mean,
That's incredible.
I'm pretty sure most people were, but still, I saw them and I was like, this band is on fire tonight.
Wow.
You know, it was it's great. And apparently, according to him, the whole band was on acid.
They were all in it together. At least it wasn't just one of them or two of them that was on it. Then you really
that's when
feel,
it gets fucked up.
Yeah, that's when it's like, oh man, you ain't got a brother in this, man. What's going on? Yeah, no.
Yeah,
No,
but of course,
definitely.
from seeing like Russell Batiste to Kevin O'Day to Terrence Higgins to you name it, there's
Herlin Riley. We got
it keeps going.
our list of drummers can hang with anybody in the world, man.
Yeah.
I mean, New Orleans, it's insane, and that was one of the many reasons I wanted to move to New Orleans to begin with. I mean, not just to hopefully find my way in being a part of the music community there, but because there's so much steel to sharpen me there, you know,
For
and
sure.
there's just so much inspiration to go out on any given night. It doesn't matter if it's a weekday, a weekend, a holiday. It doesn't matter at all, man.
Yeah.
You go in there, you go check out any of the cats we just mentioned or countless others.
Yeah.
Or some you might just be discovering that day.
Right.
And you can have your mind blown and you can learn so much and expand what it is that you're doing. It's just a really beautiful place to be. And man, as if that weren't enough, the community of drummers and the way they treat each other is just so beautiful.
Yeah.
And the way that there's no cutthroat about it and there's no animosity towards each other, and there's just like, it's so loving and such a true music community, especially in New Orleans. But even when you go outside New Orleans and see people who have that connection to New Orleans music, it's very cool to do that too. But I feel so appreciative to be in New Orleans and to be in a music community that's just so supportive and so loving and so much, you know, family. If it really feels like a family.
I hear you, man. It's cool checking out y'all's music and everything, and I feel like bands like your band, Snarky Puppy, some of that stuff is I was kind of thinking that it's almost like the new fusion, you know, what fusion was in the 70s.
Absolutely.
And the melding of styles and the semi-technical aspects of it, you know, of course, melded now with varying more modern styles, be it electronic music and kind of reverse engineering that back into the music and
No,
whatnot.
that's a really good point, man.
But I think it's interesting because obviously that wasn't as much a thing when I was first starting to find fusion, I guess, in the like late 80s, early 90s. Like the first time I heard Mahavishnu Orchestra, and I was like, the fuck is this? You know, this is insane.
Yeah,
How
that's
is
some crazy
Billy
shit.
Cobham? What is this?
Yeah.
And how is he playing that so fast? You know, so and it was so technical and so out there, and I think it's kind of interesting the way that I think some of the electronic music forms have brought in what I consider now the newer fusion forms and what you play, and sort of brought in sort of a groovy, even groovier aspect to it.
Sure, yeah,
You know?
absolutely. And some cats are combining actual electronic elements with it. You know, I do some different things to create natural effects, whether it be, you know, I use a hi-hat where I flip a broken cymbal on top of the hi-hat, so I have an extra bell basically to hit.
Yeah.
Or of course everybody uses, you know, cymbal rings and putting splashes on the rack tom or any snare drum, all types of things like that. But you're right, the way that electronic music, hip-hop, or any number of music styles that are based in electronics or use electronics have entirely affected natural sounding music. Absolutely. And it's done really cool things to creativity and allowed us to create sounds that would have previously gotten looks from the band that's like
100%.
yeah, like would have made it. Are you crazy over there?
Yeah.
Man? But now it's just now it sounds like the coolest thing. You
Right.
know? Yeah.
Well, I think it's definitely a case of drummers evolving and adapting to the electronic influence, because I think I remember part of the narrative being this electronic music is going to come in and going to replace like so many drummers. And I think that the drummers that are the most incredible at it, obviously, are the ones that are listening to it and taking what they need and kind of once again sort of reverse engineering it. You know?
Absolutely, and recontextualizing the way in which it acts.
Exactly,
you know, and kind of creating a blend of what they have always done and what they've learned from the electronic world. And yeah, no, definitely, man. Definitely.
It's crazy. The one thing that I do definitely love about New York being here all these years is I get to see some guys that are on the cutting edge of that aspect of electronic music, whether it's Jojo Mayer or Mark Juliana or Nate Wood or Nate Smith or you name it. It's just like, Jesus, dude.
Those are some of my favorites you mentioned too, man. I mean, oh my God. These cats are all incredible.
Yeah. I feel like I saw like Mark Juliana and Jojo Mayer on one weekend and I was just like almost upset, you know? That was great. And also, like, God, a little sad about my own playing.
No, I know exactly what you mean. The first time I saw Nate Wood, it was an incredible mix of inspirational and just almost like shell shock. You know, like, am I allowed to hit drums again? Or, like, is it kind of just over now?
I'm pretty sure Nate Wood does that to everybody.
He's amazing, man. No, but and he's he's the nicest guy. Really, he's such a sweetheart and so like receptive to talking to him about what he's doing and just oh man, he's an incredible and such an inspirational player. Him and I mean, Chris Dave is another one of those cats who combines those styles like we were talking about. And the first time I saw him, it was the same thing where you're just kind of like, bro, what planet is this dude from? Like, where did how was this, like, what?
Yeah.
You know, and you just kind of like, the more and more you delve into it and the more and more that you kind of like, okay, I understand what he's doing here. I don't know if that means I can do it, but it means I understand what's going on here and I got something to work towards or I got a way to apply that to my technique or any number of things. And just, man, being in New York and having the opportunity to see those cats must be incredible.
It's awesome. It's definitely an awesome thing. And it happens a lot. Sometimes you can get a little complacent and be like, I'll catch him next time. Yeah. You just have to remind yourself, nah, I just got to go. I got to go do this tonight. Yeah. We got to go do this.
Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about how Naughty Professor came about. How did the band start?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, so we all went to Loyola University, and that's where we met as a unit. And I actually wasn't the first drummer in the band. They had a different drummer who ended up stopping playing drums for the most part and certainly stopping with Naughty to become a farmer.
For real?
Yeah.
To farm where?
On the North Shore.
Oh, okay.
Kind of near Hammond, basically.
Yeah.
Tickfaw.
Yeah, and I grew up predominantly in the North Shore, so I know that whole side.
Yeah.
For those of you listening to this, it's about an hour north across what was the longest bridge in the world at one time. But prior to China building, I believe, 2 of the longest bridges what are now. But yeah, it's more country, more rednecks. It's a little bit more like Mississippi. There's some city folk there. There's some shit happening.
Yeah, so these guys called me. I was playing in a different band with Noah, the bass player, and Nick, the alto player.
Okay.
And they said, man, Danny is leaving, and we're looking for a new cat. Would you be interested in auditioning? I said, absolutely, man. I've always loved Naughty Professor. I was one of those guys who was at their shows.
Really?
Before. Oh, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Was at their show. I was a huge fan of theirs before I joined the band, and it's hard not to hear yourself on the music. So I was kind of, to some degree, ready. You know what I mean? Even because you're here, like, oh yeah, man, like, oh, I'm psyched. I'm ready. Just give me a couple days and give me a couple days with Noah specifically to figure out some of the more complex bass and drum stuff, and let's get straight on the road. Like, let's do it, man. Let's go. Like, well, slow down. We got the show at Tips. I think the first show I did with him was at Tipitina's. It was one of those free Friday hits.
Oh, nice.
And but we all met in college and kind of came together through going to college, but then also somewhat of an ancestral band scene.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been with them now for, I guess, 5 years.
Okay.
5 years now. Yeah, and they were still in school. I'm the oldest in the band, and they were still in school when I joined.
Okay.
So we were chilling in New Orleans for a lot, didn't do as much touring the first couple years I was in the band, and then the last 3, we've really been hitting the road pretty hard.
That's awesome. Man, how does everybody balance the regular life and being on the road and coming back? I mean, thankfully, New Orleans isn't as expensive as New York, so it's a little more feasible. But still,
that's a huge deal, honestly.
The complications of that are still real.
Definitely, man. It is. The short answer is that we're still trying to figure out the best way to balance it. Of course, I have certainly not found my perfect way to do it. Although, just like with anything, you learn and you keep it going. I try to do things to set myself up for sanity when I get home.
Yeah.
For example, my bed sheets are clean. My room is clean. Everything is like I come home, things are organized. My drums are set up. My metronome's right there.
Yeah.
I'm ready to play. As soon as I get home, if I need to sleep, I can go to sleep and feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm not going to feel like I'm cluttered.
Yeah.
If I need to play drums, I don't have to set anything up, so I have no excuse like, oh, man, I guess I'll just set them up tomorrow when I wait. You know, there's like, so I try to set myself up for success. I try to at least get some time to hit a pad every day when I'm on the road. I mean, it can be really difficult to practice. And when the drums are in the trailer, and as soon as you get them set up, it's sound check time. And then as soon as sound check is over, doors are open.
Yeah.
And then doors are open and you play the gig. You just, you know, it's not the best thing. I don't know. It's different for everybody, but I don't like to hit the stage without having hit some drums, without practicing for a while. Sound check is different too. You know, you run a couple things here. You're really not focusing. You're focusing on your monitor more than you're focusing on your wrists, and you're like, it's different. So a lot of times it's really important for me to just get with a metronome, run some singles, because that's something I like to have as clean as possible. It can be obvious if you don't have it as clean as you're used to having it. Run some rudiments, try to get yourself at least in as good a shape as possible. But then you come home and you got to try to get gigs too. It's not just about staying in shape for the band that you're in. It's also about playing when you're home. So, hit up people you play with regularly. Try to do coffee with them before you leave, or give a schedule 3 months in advance. Hey, if there's, if we can do a residency every Monday for, let's say, these 6 weeks that I'm in town, let's do that. Or try to do as much as you can to just stay in contact with the people who regularly hire you, you know, and that can be a big deal too.
Right.
You know?
Well, right now, Naughty Professor is 6-piece?
Yep.
All
6-piece. We do a fair amount of features, though. A lot of times we'll have Sam Cuslin come play with us, who is a keyboard player and singer. A lot of times we'll have featured vocalists, featured instrumentalists, and any number of things. But 6-piece in the actual band, yes.
Right on. Yeah, man, it's amazing. I've played in trios before, and I'm like, wow, this is that much easier, and it's hilarious. I've interviewed guys that are in duos, and they're like, oh, no, that's what's easy. I'm like, yeah, I bet it is. 2 guys, like, you get a merch guy, it's like 3 people on the road. It's just so much less to consider. The second you get 6, 7, 8 people in a van, I mean, so yeah, keep the big band local, keep the consolidated version on the road.
Exactly. 6 is about the maximum for comfortability in this 15-passenger van.
Which is a big van anyway.
Yeah, it is. And that way we have driver and a navigator in the front, and then everybody gets their own row. So you at least get to lay down.
Yeah.
It's what makes us capable of doing the long overnight drives, doing things like that to keep costs down for not getting hotels, things like this.
Right.
So 6 is pretty much our max. If we had 1 or 2 extra and we were having to sub in and do all that, I mean, that would be much, much more difficult. And our system is good too. It's 2-person teams. We sub out every couple hours for driving so that everybody's fresh, and then you get probably somewhere between 5 and 7 hours off, and you get to actually sleep if you need to.
Right.
So it's not a bad system, man. We're a big band, but we've got something that works for us.
Yeah, a little big band.
Yeah, exactly. Little big band. Exactly, man.
Right on, man. Well, stay safe out there. I'd love it that y'all are coming through and getting out, hitting the road. And next time y'all come through, I'll have to catch up with you, man.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks so much for having me, Jody. It's a pleasure speaking with you.
Good talking to you, Sam.
All right, man.
Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to Sam for catching up with me in between sound check and hitting the stage for both gigs, back-to-back, double dipping. Definitely best of luck to that dude. I'm really digging all of his projects. Anyways, we'll catch y'all on the next one. Adios, brochachos, brochachettes. Crash, bang, boom.